Right?
Around, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, what's our mascot's name?
I don't know. What should we name him?
What? All right, guys, come on. Everyone pitch in. Throw out your mascot names there.
Help. Name me.
Chinois. Chinois. It's a fine mesh, conical shaped strainer. What? Can't be Chinois? No? Come on, you're learning fancy terms here, guys.
Chamois.
Chinois. Chinoise. All right, chinois. Okay, guys, so I brined some pork chops. Compliments of Porterhouse Meat Market here in Eagle. No, he doesn't pay me to do this, but whenever I find something nice, I want to show you something to do with it. But tell me why you come to the market. I see some fresh produce. Help me out here. Why are you here? I'm just genuinely curious.
Fresh produce.
Fresh produce, fresh produce, fresh produce, fresh produce. Okay, you need to know also.
I like to watch school. I like to glance over there, and I go crazy buying things.
Oh, nice. I pay her to say that, folks. All right. So
I jelly from the elk.
I'm sorry.
I buy jelly from the elk.
Very good. They're Timber Butte Elk Ranch, and frequently I use their product in demos. So you definitely want to come every Saturday, 10 and 12. I do 2 demos each week. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook some pork chop for you, and I'll talk about that in a second, and I'm going to saute some fruit. I have some peaches, and I have some fresh picked huckleberries. You need to thank this gentleman from Spyglass. Everyone say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Right? He just foraged for huckleberries. It's a dining pleasure. So, and I'll use this much in the dish, and the rest are coming home with me. Oh, sorry. No. I'm going to throw some pepper in there also, just for a little bit of zip. But I'm going to saute the fruit in the same pan in which I cook the pork. Okay? So first, I'm going to pan fry or sear the pork. So why don't we get some heat going? You know, let me just keep this on low for a minute. You know what? Hold on. I need to talk about the brine. I'm going to kill that heat. Okay, a brine is different from a marinade, okay? A brine is water-based. A marinade is commonly oil and acid-based, like a vinaigrette. Okay, any bottled vinaigrette or Italian dressing that you have in your fridge can be used as a marinade. A marinade infuses with flavor and can also contribute to tenderness. Don't leave things in a marinade too long, or the acid will break down the proteins, and you'll have maybe a mushy texture, soft, less palatable than if you just give it a marinade, say overnight or something. Okay? Don't marinate fish for too long, and generally you do not need to brine fish. But why would I brine something? A brine is water-based as opposed to the oil and acid-based marinade, but a brine actually gets moisture into the product also. Okay, there's no preservatives or anything like that. But what I did is I am choosing to be a little bit creative and do a brine that is actually made with tea. Okay, I found a cool little tea room right over there on the other side of Black Pearl. There's a tea room over there, and I was just in there last week, Arna Jane's cottage, and so I got some tea. Because I was going to do this pork with some fruit, I wanted a sweet tea in the brine. And so what I used is their peach ambrosia and their Zoe. Both of these are sweet and fruity, and they're based on black tea, it looks like, but there's no oils in there. Like the fruity teas from them, they do not flavor them with oils. There's actually pieces of the dehydrated fruit in there. So there's peach, and then there's a variety of stuff in the Zoe, and I brewed a strong cup of each and then just combined them. Now I also in the brine put a little bit of sugar and a little bit of salt, because you have opportunity when you brine, when you're giving a day and a half, the meat a day and a half in brine, moisture is getting into the meat, and you're actually seasoning that, right, if you have seasoned the liquid. So you don't want too much salt and too much sugar, but due to the fact that I seasoned the brine, I don't need to hit it with salt and pepper prior to cooking. Okay? So again, a brine is water or oil-based?
Water.
Water-based. A marinade is what? Oil-based, and there's usually some acid, whether it's citrus juice or vinegar or something of that sort. If you're going to marinate fish, only do so for maybe an hour. If you're going to marinate chicken or maybe flank steak and things like that, you can do it overnight. Okay? But a brine, generally you go at least 24 hours. I actually put this in the brine Thursday evening. So you do the math. I'm not much of a mathematician. I just apply heat to food, guys, all right? Thursday evening, I put this in the brine, okay? And you keep it refrigerated, all right? Questions? No? All right. Now, could you marinate the pork if you want? Why would I choose to brine pork? Pork chops, whether that's pork loin or even pork tenderloin or things like chicken breast, are really lean by nature. So anything we can do to contribute to the moistness of such a thing is good. Okay? Stay. Now be careful whenever you're handling raw product, especially chicken. Doesn't that irk you when you see that even chefs that are decent cooks, like
Emerald.
like Ming Tsai? Emerald's a showman, okay? But doesn't it irk you when you see them handle the meat and then they grab their pepper mill? If it doesn't, then I'm sorry. But it should.
If it doesn't, you're not paying attention.
That's right, that's right. So one should always wash up after handling raw flesh. So I'm drying this off so I can get a good sear and a good brown crust on the outer edges of the pork chops. Now, do you need to go over and thank David Porterhouse for throwing me some product to feed you, right? Yeah, the answer is yes. I will give you the answers. Okay, so I'm going to dry those off for what reason? So I can get a nice crisp sear on the edge, okay? Otherwise, it's going to be hanging out steaming and it's not going to look very palatable, okay? Anyone want this brine? It's good for another day or two. Yeah, serious?
I'll use it this evening.
Are you? How long till you can get it in refrigeration? Within the hour?
Today too long.
Within the hour?
No,
Can you get this
I
refrigerated?
won't take it today
Okay.
because I've got something else I need to do.
Okay.
I've got something else I need to do. Normally, I'm right straight home.
It's double bag. You're welcome to it. Yeah. But chill it with it. Give it on ice within the hour or put it in the refrigerator. Okay. All right. So how many of you caught the demos last week? What did I do last week? I don't remember. Come on. Where are you guys on Saturday mornings? I'm sorry? Oh, yeah. We did wonton chips with fresh salsa. And stuff from the market. What was the first demo? I forgot. I don't know. This is why you need to buy the DVDs from Laura for $5, right?
That one's gonna come out next week.
Elf meatballs and
Oh, you are good.
chili
Nice.
rice.
Nice,
Spanish
very
rice.
good.
That's the one I got from home.
All right, so I'm drying the pork chop. Now this is actually, I have a couple different kinds I noticed here. These are the pork chops, the boneless pork chops are from the pork loin. This one he actually calls a pork T-bone because we have the pork loin on this side and a little piece of the tenderloin on this side. Okay, so it's from further down the animal little ways. You know what, I'm gonna make sure that's dry, a little more. Okay, so again, I'm gonna cook in the pan, in the saute pan. I'll sear both sides of the pork chop, then I'll back the heat off a little bit and let it ride out until I've determined that it's done. And then I'm gonna keep the heat on that pan. I'm gonna add the fruit, just give it a toss. Maybe we'll deglaze with a splash of white wine if I can get my neighbor's attention at that point in time. Any objections?
No.
That was no objections, right? Turn that water on and give me a squirt of soap there, please. Thank you so much. Very good, thanks. Just twist that around. Okay, right. I don't want to splash on your bag. Is that your bag? Go ahead and move your bag and leave the water on. I'll turn it off. Just go, I'll turn it off. Yeah, your hands be clean then. Okay, there. I just didn't want to splash water into your bag. All right, guys. Okay, so I'm going to heat my pan. I'm going to add some olive oil. Because I'm going to saute on a very high heat, it's sometimes hard for me to judge the flame out in the sunlight. So, pardon me, cooking by Braille here, sorry. So because I'm going to sear on a very, very high heat, I'm not going to use butter because I would burn the butter. Okay, the milk solids and proteins in the butter would burn. In this case, I'm going to use olive oil. I'm going to make sure my pan is nice and hot and that the olive oil is very nice and hot. Now, in a perfect world, I probably would have brought I accidentally grabbed the wok, which would be fine for this. You would get a better sear on a stainless steel surface as opposed to the non-stick surface. But considering the fact that I'm sauteing a larger quantity of fruit for you guys to try, you know, if I was just doing 1 or 2 pork chops here, but I don't want to crowd that pan. Okay, I want to get plenty of room, plenty of flat surface. So I should have grabbed a non-stick, a stainless steel saute pan or skillet. So anyways, if at home you're making that decision, you might want to choose to do this, because then you're going to have some wonderfully crusted on flavored bits, which is called fond, F-O-N-D, which you can then deglaze with some liquid, whether it's wine or stock, or heck, I guess you could use water. You could also deglaze with some kind of spirits, but be careful, okay? Off the heat, back on, you will have flames. I should have done a flambe demo, huh? Yeah? By the way, never order Cherry's Jubilee from a maitre d' with no eyebrows, all right? Serious. I mean, watch out, okay? There are certain techniques for flambeing, and why don't I show you that in a couple of weeks, all right? Hopefully when there's no wind, all right, to more accurately simulate what you're gonna do in your own kitchen. Okay, so here we have oil. Do you think it's hot? I think it's hot because I'm looking at how fluid, how loose it is running in the bottom of the pan. So here we go. Pork chops going in. Actually, I want it even hotter than that. Okay, so again, the pork T-bone right here. Okay. So when you're cooking and when you're grilling and things like that, are you thinking about what your hands touch? Or are you thinking about what the tongs touch? Because for me, because the first set of tongs I use are going to be touching raw meat, right? Think about this, especially when you're grilling things like chicken out there, okay? Now, I hate to break the news to you, the restaurant cook that's cooking your chicken breast probably isn't giving you that much thought, okay? But you can at least be safe when you're handling food. So the initial flip, retire that set of tongs, okay? Make sense? See how we're getting a nice sear? I want to get that. My heat is still on high. So what would we sort of give, maybe if we were going to give this a splash of white wine prior to sauteing the fruit? What do you think you'd want to use?
Just a little bit sweet.
Yeah, we're going to be, once we have a peach tea here that was served as a brine. There's a little bit of sugar and a little bit of salt in the tea. But then I'm going to throw the peaches and huckleberries along with some pepper into the pan. Yeah, if we do a splash of Riesling, that'll play well with the fruit, huh? What do you guys think? Objection? Anyone care to weigh in on that? So why wouldn't we use red wine in that case? Because it doesn't seem to make as much sense. Okay, we don't need the depth of color. Okay. Okay, very good. Why don't you just leave it right here? Here we go. Okay, in the shade. Okay, there we go. Very good, thank you. Okay, so here we go. We've got some color. I'm going to actually add a little more oil. I want a nice even sear on these. Oil helps facilitate that, okay? Grapeseed oil would also be a good choice in oils if you're sauteing something at a high temperature. Any questions so far? So again, our brine was made of what? We used tea. I used the peach ambrosia and the Zoe from a shop, a wonderful little tea room about 150 yards behind me on the other side of Black Pearl. So how long do we brine something for? At least a day, maybe a couple days. Okay, if you brine for a day and a half or so, feel free to use that brine again. But I wouldn't stretch it beyond 3 or 4 days. Okay? Now, again, what's the difference between a brine and a marinade? That's right. A marinade is commonly oil and acid based. A brine is water based, and you're actually plumping up the lean meat. Excellent candidate for brining. Pork loin, pork tenderloin, chicken breast. Excellent candidates because they take on the moisture. Those cuts are very lean and they benefit from brining. Okay? Oops. So, like I said, retire the tongs to touch the raw meat, right? You were going to call me on that, huh? Hey, mister. All right. So here we have our pork chop, okay? Now, have you ever seen cooks touch the surface of the meat to try to determine doneness? Why would they do that? Feel how tender, soft, or how firm it is. How much resistance, okay? So if I'm touching that, this guy's telling me he's done, okay? This guy is telling me he's rare. That guy's telling me he's medium rare. This guy's saying he's medium, okay? So, now close to the bone, he may be rare. If you want to cheat, you can make a little slit. Now here's the thing about pork. Nowadays, trichinosis is nearly non-existent. So it's okay to cook it with a little blood. But I know about a 30 who are going, oh no, okay? Now I grew up in a household where all the meat was always cooked very well done. My mom was from a small farm in Montana, and back in the day, you cooked stuff till it was well done. But you don't really need to now. Okay, you know what? Even though the pork was in a bag when it was on here, I'm gonna wash it. Okay? Very good. Do you think she's gonna want the demo plate when I'm all done? Huh? Okay, so I need to pull that one off of there. In fact, I'm inclined to pull them all off of there and let them rest. Now we're going to have some color here, okay? If needs be, I can throw them back in the pan after I slice it, okay? But I'm going to let them rest, and with a little bit of carryover heat, we're going to be cooking here for another couple minutes, okay? So I'm getting some of the olive oil out of the pan. In fact, I'm going to wipe out a little bit of those crusted bits because some got a little too dark. It's fine if you don't burn it, but there I have a little edge right there that I don't want in there, okay? Now I'm going to add plum sauce. I'm going to add some plum sauce to accentuate the sweetness, but plum sauce is sweet and savory. Okay, guys? Yeah. So here we go. Let's go a couple tablespoons of plum sauce. Let's go. I have some peppered honey butter from my earlier demo that I let you try. How many of you were here earlier? I made corn on the cob for you guys to try. I did a peppered honey butter. It's butter plus honey and Cholula, okay? So why don't we do that sort of sweet savory thing going on. We'll give this guy a little splash of white wine, and you don't have to worry about any flare up with wine because the alcohol percentage is not high enough. Thank you very much. Martha. Okay, so I'm going to cook out the alcohol. I'm going to add the peaches. Now this didn't touch raw meat, okay? Cool. Let's go. Oh, we need high heat. Come on, let's go. Okay, we're just going to warm these peaches through. If we cook the peaches too long, they're going to break down. They're going to put off a lot of moisture, and they're going to be mush. And I don't want them mush, okay? I don't want to cook these to baby food stage. So I'm going to add some huckleberries in a minute here. Let's just get these warming through. What other kind of fruit? Whatever you want. Yeah, any kind of fruit plays really well with pork. From apple to pear to berries to peaches to nectarines to apricots to plums. You decide. You decide. All right, let's go. Yes, please. Huckleberries. And let's throw in a little bit of pepper for a little savory zip, right? Is that cool? We have some pepper elsewhere in it already in the form of pepper sauce and that honey butter, remember? Questions so far? What kind of pepper? I don't remember what it's called. It's from Conrad's Produce. It's kind of like an Anaheim, but no, it's not from Conrad's Produce. It's from Century Farms under the tree, just this side of Conrad's. But there's a lot of wonderful peppers here at the market.
So is that a spicy?
It's got a little more zip than a bell pepper, but it's not hot like a jalapeno. It's in the realm of an Anaheim or a poblano. Okay, there we go. All right, we're gonna call this done. Yeah. Call the Center for Disease Control and you'll find that there are no reported cases of trichinosis. So you can cook it to where it has some blush still. So I'm sorry?
You don't have peppers in there.
I just put some pepper in there.
Oh, but not peppers.
Peppers?
It's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, Cordell, what was that green stuff again?
Pepper.
What? You're welcome to watch.
Like a
over
bell
here.
pepper or a jalapeno? Or...
What was it called?
It's like an Anaheim. I forgot the name of it. Someone
Oh,
want to go
okay.
over to Century Farms and ask the name of it? I'm sorry.
Got it.
It looks like an Anaheim, but a little more twisted. Right here. Century Farms, right over there under the tree. And so, but is it okay to use a poblano?
Oh, you're right.
Is it okay to use an Anaheim? Is it okay to forego the pepper entirely? All right, let me taste the sauce, see where we stand, and I'll show you how I might plate something like this. So again, if you don't want the pepper in there, you want to go straight fruit, you're certainly welcome to do that, right? Okay, making that decision is called cooking. All right? Please do that. Take that liberty. All right, so you want to look fancy for your friends, just hold your hand up higher, all right? Okay? All right, how might I plate something like this? Okay, again, the pork chop was brined in what? Tea. I brewed some sweet tea, okay, and then I add a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar, okay? So taste your brine and think, would I like my slice of pork to taste like this? Because the flavor, the liquid's going to permeate that pork chop, okay? Again, a brine is water-based as opposed to a marinade, which is acid and oil-based. So it's actually contributing to the moistness of the meat. Wonderful, wonderful way to treat the very lean cuts. Pork chop, pork loin, pork tenderloin, chicken breast, okay? All right. Okay, then in the same pan that I cooked the pork chop, I simply sauteed some fruit and gave it a hit of plum sauce and a little bit of pepper butter that was from the prior demo. But you can just go straight, you know, some butter, whatever, just toss, warm it up. Fruit, sweet things play really well with pork. All right? Pork chops and applesauce, right?
The chunky applesauce.
Yeah? So why not cook your own apple? Okay? There's wonderful fruit here available at the market. And so to add a little savory zip, we add a little bit of pepper. Again, it's like an Anaheim. I forgot the name of it. I think it's a Spanish name. It's right over there under the
Is it a
tree.
bashed pepper?
I'm sorry?
Is it a bashed
Yeah,
pepper?
yeah. What's it called? Begins with a P. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. You get the demo plate. Maybe.
Gotta make lots of samples.
That works for me. How might I plate this? I don't know. Let's see.
Those peppers that must be those plain green peppers.
What's a plain green pepper?
A big
A bell pepper? It has more flavor. Yeah, it has more flavor. Now these aren't going to stay entirely perfectly formed when I unmold it. It's just giving me an idea. It's giving me a portion quantity and gives me a starting point. Let's see how we did on the pork. So there's a rim of fat on here somewhere. Right here. Nope. Somewhere right there. A little bit. I'm going to trim a little bit off, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. See how we have a little bit of color? That's more from a vein, so it's not raw meat. But you see how we're cooked through, but see how we get a little bit of blush there? You know? How many of you are disgusted by that? How many of you are all, okay, I'll give it a try. Okay, very good. One of the senators I remember used to, he was the longest running Idaho State senator. He would frequently have comments about the food. Why are these green beans raw? Well, they weren't raw. A couple of the younger senators would go, keep them al dente, man. We like them like that. Okay, but he was used to his vegetables being very well cooked. Or sometimes it's like, why does the meat have too much color? And other guys were like, no, we like that. Okay, keep it moist. Keep it moist. So if you don't, you know, if you don't want to try it, that's fine. I'm not overly concerned. Some of these ends have a little more fat, so I'm going to forego serving those to you. But But here we go, some nice little pristine pieces.
Yeah.
Let me cut the rest of this. I'll serve you up a sample here in a minute. I am going to trim this a little bit. I leave the fat on during cooking because it can contribute to the moistness of the overall product. Okay, now this is getting a little more rare than I prefer it. We'll see if that goes away. Yeah, it's going away. Let me give it a try, unless you think I would serve you something I wouldn't eat. So I'm going to try the most rare piece I can find. A little bit of salt. Okay. Let's got one more piece. Again, this pork, I want to thank Porterhouse. Go over to Porterhouse and thank them for contributing to the demonstration. Okay? Because once in a while he'll throw me some products so you guys can try it. Is that nice of him or what? Huh? Yeah? So you're going to go thank him, right? There you go. Very nice. Salt. All right. Okay, so I might plate something like this. Like so.
You turn the house into the tasting.
So the old cook's trick of taking a couple ounces of meat and fanning it out so it looks like twice as much, right? So who's to say you can't practice like that on your family? Okay? And maybe just a little bit of, you know, you could have something like so. And there you go, $15.95. No, just kidding. $8. So, all right. So you guys can do that. You saw what I did, right? You can do it. Okay. So tea-brined pork chop from Porterhouse, served with sauteed peaches and huckleberries. So why don't I put some in front of you so you guys can try it? Yeah. So remember the demo where the kid came up and grabbed the plate? Yeah. Right? Huh? And yes, he left with all digits intact. Okay, any questions? All right. Well, thanks for attending the demo. Every Saturday, I do 2 demonstrations. My name's Cordell Knight. I'm a freelance chef for catering and classes, all kinds of stuff. Whatever you need done in your home. But here at the market, every Saturday at 10 and 12, I do a demonstration like this to show you some ideas, what you might do with some of the stuff here from the market. All right. You guys are so nice. So you're going to see Laura about DVDs, right? So she has past footage. She has footage of past demonstrations, stuff like the lobster fried rice or the seared scallops with fruit salsa. Which ones did you get?
I got the lobster and the scallops.
Okay, so what other farmers markets are feeding you lobster and stuff, huh? Right? Huh? So do we have your loyalty here or not? Right? Anyway.
I passed other farmers markets.
Yeah? Nice. Nice. We pay her to say that, by the way. All right, you guys want to give this a try? Yeah. Just 2 of you? Okay. Okay. Just 2 of you.
I don't know, are you into the whites or into the reds? Oh. Oh, cool.
All right, guys, let me taste again what you're gonna have. I need to make sure I'm serving you something decent.
So that's 578. So you got 4 more slots. Viognier double gold medal best show.
You're making me nervous. Any questions?
No, but I've got a statement.
Tell me.
There's nothing wrong when you have to eat alone to take that extra minutes to present a plate.
Yes.
Nice.
And we all get in such a habit when we have to eat alone of not presenting our plate and of standing over the counter and shoving it in our mouth.
But I thought that's why we had 2 sinks. They're hims and hers sinks. Once the kids are out of the house, right? Jeez. All right.
That's what you've done for me.
Oh,
is
you're
to
so
make me
nice.
Start presenting
You're so
food
nice.
like my daddy taught me.
Yeah? How many of you want this cooked a little more?
Not necessary.
How many of you are cool with it right now? Yeah, very good. You guys are good. Wow. Okay, you can come back. It's okay. All right, let's come back. And what do you want to do to be fancy for your friends? Just hold your hand up higher, right? Okay. All right. And yes, you'll hear that lame joke on every disc. Just about. Right, Laura? Hey, what's your
You're
mouth?
my new best buddy.
What's your mouth there? All right, guys. All right, why don't you go ahead and come on up here, grab yourself a taste, and then certainly go support the local farmers by buying some of their wonderful local fresh foods. You know how often I hear that line? Oh my gosh. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad you like it. Haven't got away from me. What are you doing? Oh my God. You're welcome. You're welcome. The rest of my disc? I don't know, Laura. Where's the rest of the disc? What do you mean? You been pocketing something?
We ran out.
We ran out?
I told them all up and then I
Oh, you did? Yeah, that's right. I told him to show you. I figured you'd get a kick out of it. Put it on in the shop. Spyglass, right over there under the tree. Yeah.
I have some frozen.
Yeah. You can use any fruit for this, just so you know. Remember to see Laura for the DVDs. $5. I'm sorry? This morning? Corn on the cob with peppered honey butter and roasted garlic. Some of that, the rest of that honey butter found its way right here into this fruit saute. I know where to find her if you don't see her. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Okay, guys. I did sauces a couple weeks back. Velouté, bechamel, Mornay, a bunch of sauces, but Laura wasn't here, so I'll do sauces again in the coming week, okay? A couple weeks. And because I had a few people say they wanted the sauces, so we're going to do a repeat on some of that.
It usually doesn't do that. Yeah, it actually was